The opinions expressed on the Custody Queen Show are for informational purposes only and are not a substitute for personal, professional legal advice. The persons discussed are fictional and not based on actual clients.
Thought it was love, had kids in between. You can count on us, we're the Custody Queens. Yeah, you can count on us, we're the Custody Queens.
Good morning, everybody. Happy Saturday. Finally, we've made it.
We love you, Brittany. We are so happy to have everyone back this Saturday. We are here with Brittany Van Veen. She's a certified family law specialist. She is one of our custody queens, and we are happy to have her back.
Yes, and for those of you that may not remember or didn't listen, you should go back to custodyqueensonair.com where you can find all of our past episodes. But Brittany was a prior guest of ours, and I think she was pregnant at that time, but it was not public knowledge.
Not for public consumption yet.
But now she's back, and she has a 4-month-old.
A 4-month-old baby boy is keeping me busy, to say the least.
I love how you what's the right word? Busy.
Yeah, what's the proper way of saying this?
So we're going to dive into all of the issues that, a parent may go through, whether you're going through a divorce, a separation, or you're just a parent going through a new phase. We're going to talk about the challenges, the joys, sometimes the sadness, that comes with new transitions and new lives. And we really just want everyone to get something out of this show, that it's not always a bad thing when you go through new changes, new transitions, new eras. It's a chance to kind of revamp yourself, redefine what's important to you. What are your priorities? What are your goals? What should you let go of? And so that's what Sam and Brittany and myself really want to make clear today, is that each phase is something special.
That's absolutely right. And before we get into it and ask Brittany all of the very special baby questions that we have for her, we are going to do the CQ Talk Box. Kristen, do you want to describe that a little bit?
Yeah, it's just a new app that Sam and I have been working on for quite a while with our team, and it's a great way to get conversation going in your family that may not be as dicey or risky as, Thanksgiving dinners where we talk about politics or religion and after a few glasses of wine. This is a really positive way to start conversations with your teenagers, your toddlers, your siblings, your partners, your bonus partners, whatever you have going on. It's a great way to ask questions that may not come up in everyday life, to get underneath the surface level questions and to really better understand your kids, your spouse, whoever you're doing this with. It's like a peek into their soul a little bit. And so I'm super proud of it, and I can't wait for it to come out, and we will give all the details of where you can download it, how you can get it, and you even get, the queens asking some questions directly to you.
That's right. So I have the first question, and because Brittany is here and our guest, I would be rude to not ask you first. What are you not willing to compromise on, Brittany?
Oh, a lot, if I'm being honest. I think that just given the nature of what we do, it makes us as people a little bit more rigid, is the nice way I'll put it. What am I not willing to compromise on? I think at the end of the day, the core kind of fundamental values I hold as for our family, right? So when it comes to things that I want to instill in our son and as our family grows. So I think that family is number one. It's always going to be number one. And at the end of the day, we have to put each other first. We have to remember that conflicts that come up are us against the problem, not us against each other. And so I think at the end of the day, what I'm not willing to compromise in my, with my family is making sure that we put each other first. We fight for each other. We fight against problems, and we stay a united team. Especially my husband and I, that we present to our son what we want. What we want a marriage to look like. We have to remember that we're a healthy, the only healthy example that he's going to have inside of the house of what growing up looks like, what our family unit is going to look like. And so I want to remember that we're an example for him every day, and not compromise what he's going to learn from us as people together and separately.
Well put.
Yeah, no, one of the core values that we have here at Custody Queens is family first. It's something that we take very seriously in our workplace environment, and it is so easy to get caught up in what we do for a living and take the stress home, our client stress, the stress that the kids go through. And, I had to learn hard ways, and I think Sam's kind of has had to go through the same the last few years. But your work is your work, and you can be passionate and you can love what you do, but at the end of the day, it is still your work. And I have really had to adjust the way I think, the way I act, to put the family first. And I think Brittany made a really good point. You're little humans at home, whether you're married, whether you're in a relationship and you're cohabitating, whether you're divorced or you were never married but you're raising a child, it is still so important to have a united front as two parents to these children, because if they see it mom versus dad, they're going to see that their whole life. So you can still go through a divorce and go through a paternity case and have custody orders, but still be two parents that these children or child is relying on, and you can still be a team with not having the same, may not have all the same principles, you may not have all of the same things that you like to do, but you can still be a united front to these humans. And, so family first is a great one. And another one is my integrity. I going through this line of work and just something that we do, someone can hate me, they can not like me, they can think I'm too aggressive, they can think whatever they want about me. I've learned at a very young age that not everybody's gonna like you. Thank you, mama. And that is okay. And most of the time, someone not liking you is their own insecurity and their own problem. And remember that. But to call me unethical or to draw a line in the sand, because it is very easy for attorneys to get caught up in the conflict and the drama that a lot of these cases bring. But teach your clients that it is not okay to lie, it is not okay to cheat, it is not okay to steal. And I'm a firm believer that karma is a you-know-what. So be a good human, teach your kids to be a good human, and do things the right way.
I love it.
Cheaters never prosper.
Never.
Right?
Or long term.
Yes, long term. You might have an immediate gratification.
Might have a short-term spike, but you're probably going back down the other way.
Yeah, and I think there's just something funny. A little interesting piece. I was one time in a courtroom, and there was a case that was going on, and somebody was claiming that, she had a child, or I can't remember if she was about to have it or she had it, but she was lying that she was pregnant, and there was a fake sonogram created and printed off the internet and attached to a motion. I think it was called fakebaby.com.
Fakeababy.com, yeah.
But this person did not think intelligently through the process and didn't think to white out the website at the bottom of the fake sonogram, fakebaby.com. So while this person might have got some immediate financial assistance for the pregnancy, you cannot fake a baby long term. You might be able to do it for a day or so.
Right.
But that was one of those things that I was in the courtroom, and you could definitely not hide my expression even with the Botox. So, all right, Sam, what is something you are not willing to budge on?
My level of coziness, honestly. Yeah, I know everyone had a serious answer, and I thoroughly agree with Kristen and Brittany and, ethics and family first and all of those things. But honestly, the first response I had to this question was, I'm not willing to compromise on my level of coziness. There's two versions of me, and everyone knows it. Version number one is, if you know me, you know me. A bunch of makeup packed on my face like today. I think our makeup artist did a wonderful job. Hair and makeup,
yay,
love
Gabby.
it. And the other version of me is this, but like a wet dog, with a really big sweater and some sandals. Shout out to APL sandals, my favorite of all kind. Probably mismatched socks, but coziness comes first, and it always will, and no one will ever change me. So I'm not willing to change myself for other people.
Well, and a fun fact about Sam and I, so I am always hot, always. Doesn't matter if it's raining, doesn't matter if it's 105 degrees out, my AC is almost always going. I can tell you that if I have a heater on in my office, it's probably been 5 times in 5 years, and my assistant will be like, are you okay? Because I get hot so easy. I get anxiety when I'm hot, I can't think when I'm hot, I'm always hot. And Sam is the exact opposite. She is often walking around the office with a sweatshirt with a jean jacket over her sweatshirt.
I love that thing.
And a heater going on. I think she had the heater going in like August. And I walk in there and the first thought is, oh my gosh, how hot is it in here? Like, can we go to my office? I can't even think.
See, but what's going on in my head is I step into my office and I go, this is like a real life sauna. And
Oh
I
my
could
gosh.
just get a cup of green tea and just sit down, maybe slice up an apple.
I am
I'm feeling
instantly
great.
uncomfortable.
Cozy. Yeah, cozy.
Instantly.
Stay cozy.
It is not cozy. And it is not right. All right. So I think that we did a great question. So let's jump into like the show and let's just jump into Britt. So Sam, I'm going to let you get into that.
All right, Brittany. So I have a question. When you were on maternity leave, did you find yourself missing work?
I think when I was on maternity leave, I was a different version of myself that wasn't an attorney and was just a zombie that was living the same 3-hour cycles over and over and again of
Eat, sleep, poop.
just over and over again. So I don't even think that for the most part there was a chance to even remember that I was an attorney, let alone a human outside of.
Well, we missed you.
I did miss everybody. It is nice to be back talking with adults every day,
yes.
all day. It's nice to leave my house, you know.
To get out of
mostly
3-day-old clothes you've been wearing.
mostly without spit up in my hair, you know. So I definitely am happy to be back.
Do you think that you are starting to look at family law in any different light now that you have a child?
I think it's impossible not to. I've always felt really drawn to family law and felt like it was important to me, which is why I've always practiced in family law, because I have a lot of empathy for my clients, for what they're going through, because it's really, likely the most difficult thing you'll ever go through if you have to be in the family courts. So I think I've always had that empathy and that, desire to help my clients. I think there's just a different type of understanding that comes after having my own child. There's a different, you can only be so empathetic, but now that I can actually imagine the pain that, that process puts you through, no matter how amicable or how, highly contested it is, there's a level of pain in having to involve the courts in your family situation. So I think that it's just given me a whole different level of appreciation and understanding, and helped me just build upon the empathy that I already have for our clients.
Yeah, I think that if you were a child that went through a family law case, with your parents, or once you have children, I'm a firm believer that life experiences make you better at what you do. I think if you're a child that has gone through the process of divorce or separation, you have felt that on a level that others can't. And then I think when you have children and you are suddenly responsible for these humans with somebody else, it's, I remember before I was an attorney, I was creating holiday schedules, and I'm going through the motions, but I'm not understanding like what it's like when the kids are out of school on a Friday and I'm in court, or it's a minimum day and we're at a deposition. Like it's a whole new thought process. So when I was doing visitation orders, it was like, okay, Friday to Monday, or Friday to Sunday. And then you have a child and you're like, okay, but if it's a long weekend and it's like in February, we have President's Day and Martin Luther King Day, and there's like 3 Mondays where there's no school, what do we have to do to modify that drop-off order? Because if the order says to be exchanged at school, what if there is no school? So when I became a parent, I started really understanding what I was preaching. It's just a different outlook. And, sometimes Sam will share her experiences growing up, and it's not something that I went through, but she gives me a new understanding of like, this is what she felt or what she went through. And so I need to be aware of that and kind of, train my brain to think about the children in the situation. But it's like when you buy a house or you refi a house, about locked interest rates or contingencies versus just saying it, which you can have all the knowledge in the world. But when you go through it, I think it's a different appreciation for that process. But yeah, no, I think that I have learned how much more goes into a parent by doing this and being a parent.
100%.
So, but yeah, I was a great answer. I love that, Britt.
Yeah, I think that was.
Thank you. A+ answer.
A's all around. And if everyone is watching, or if you're just listening, you have to go watch because we are all in pink. We kind of look like a promo for a Barbie video right now.
We're channeling Elle Woods.
We are channeling our inner Elle Woods. But we are I'm gonna get into another question with Brittany. So what else have you when I came back to work after my first one, there were some highs and there were some lows. And I remember the first day I dropped her off at daycare, I sobbed all the way to work, which was like 3 miles, thinking I am this horrible mother. My baby is so young. I'm leaving this child to go work on other people's cases. And I had a lot of guilt that first year of being a new mom. I had a ton of guilt, but I was also in the best part of my career and I was thriving, and I wasn't willing to sacrifice anything. I wanted both. I wanted it all. So what have you gone through in the last few months have you gone through the guilt?
Mom guilt is a whole different level of guilt.
It is. It's debilitating at times.
It is. I feel like there's no amount of anything that I can do that's going to alleviate that mom guilt. It's not ever going to feel like enough because you love your kids so much. There's no limit to how much you love them and how much you want to give them. So no matter what you do, it just never feels like it's going to measure up to that amount of love that you want to pour into them. And I think in the same way that you said, I love my job. Not coming back was never something that even crossed my mind because this is where my passions lie. And I know that to be the best version of myself, to be the best mom, I have to be the best version of myself. And I owe it to my son to show him a mom that is fulfilled in her every day and who is passionate and who has, all of the things that I want him to be able to pour into what he does in his, in the future. But man, it's exhausting. The guilt is all around. It never, like I said, it never feels like enough, but you just have to focus. I've learned you just have to focus on the moment that you're in, do as much as you can, and then stop.
I gotta tell you guys are really talking me into motherhood over here.
We're really selling it. It's
wow.
The best and worst thing at the same time. You have to, I say that a lot because my dad used to say that to me is do your best and then stop, because I have the type of personality that no matter how much I'm doing, it's never going to feel like enough to me because I'm such, I always want to do a little bit more. I always want to strive a little bit more. So I have to do my best in every situation and then learn to set it down. And that is applicable across the board. I do my best every day for my son and let it go. And I do my best at work every day for my clients, and then you got to put it down and go back home. So it's just about learning to balance that while being the most tired that you've ever been in your entire life and will ever be again. Yeah,
the sleep deprivation for me, hands down, was absolutely and I'm a horrible sleeper as it is. We all know that. But that is just a whole nother level of debilitating.
Oh, I knew Kristen was struggling one day when I went.
Was this after Hudson?
I don't know. It was after one or a couple of her kids. I had walked over to her and complained that I only got like 5 hours of sleep, and she looked like she was gonna stab me. She's like, "You got 5 straight hours?" I'm like, "Yeah, it was terrible. I need at least 5 more."
Yeah, I think that was after Brody, and he was a horrible sleeper. He did not sleep through the night until he was 1, and I think I went back to work. I think he was 2 weeks old, and I took him with me for the first 8 weeks. Sam had a crib in her office.
Yeah, I had a crib in my office. It was like pseudo mom. I had a bunch of toys too.
Yeah, I said, Sam, you get an office, but my crib goes in it. You know, teamwork makes the dream work.
Yep.
And. But yeah, he was just a horrible, horrible sleeper. He's a great sleeper now, 6 years later. But yeah, and Sam would come in and be like, "Oh my gosh, I'm so tired, Kristen." And I would just look at her like, "You have no freaking clue what tired is."
And I still don't.
Yeah, some things never change. I still kind of give her that cross-eyed look.
I'm telling you that, that Oura ring where it tracks your sleep?
Yes.
I'm waiting for them to call me because I can fall asleep in 1 minute flat. It tells me I'm always overtired, and I can sleep. I'm telling you, my sleep stats, it's like I broke the program.
Well, too much sleep is
a bad thing.
Bad thing too.
No, I know, but I'm just saying. If you ever want to look at my
She's
chart.
pushing the limits. She's pushing the
I'm
limits.
waiting for him to call me. I think I can be involved in a sleep study. I think
that only happens to me like twice a year.
some
like if
great
I'm, like,
supplemental
super sick
income
or-
for me. All right, we have a listener email that I want to ask Brittany about. It's Mana from Playa Vista emailed. I was wondering if there is ever a time when parents who share 50-50 custody do not have to pay child support.
Child support is always going to be based on a formula that's going to look at your income. It's going to look at opposing parties' income. It's going to look at the timeshares. It's going to look at whether there are certain things should be deducted from everybody's income. So yeah, certainly there's going to be times where we've got a 50-50 and the formula is going to say no child support because the net taxable incomes, you're at the end of the day, the amount that you're taking home, the amount opposing parties taking home, if they're comparable, then there may not be an amount of child support owed. And in the reverse, if there's a discrepancy between the two incomes, one party's got a lot more income, the disposable income that they're taking home, even with a 50-50, you could still have a child support order.
Yeah, and whenever I see 50-50, it's not a red flag, but it's a pink flag, based on one of our prior shows that you can catch at custodyqueensonair.com. I think we had a therapist on, and they were talking to us about, it might not be quite a red flag, it might be a pink flag, but it's still somewhat of a warning. But whenever I see 50-50, my ears perk up because people say that so loosely all the time. We have 50-50, we have joint, but the question is, what are you really exercising? Are you exercising week on, week off? Are you doing 2 days on, 2 days off? Or, is one parent getting 3 hours a day after school and then they're living primarily with the other parent, because that is not a true 50-50. But that's one of the biggest questions you look at. But child support is based on the needs of the child, which goes into this program that Brittany is talking about. We've talked a lot about ex-spouse and the formula, the calculator that the court uses. And it's very important to call an attorney when you're talking about child support, because there are so many different settings and applicable deductions based on government employees and pensions, and are you getting bonuses and how frequent are they, that kind of stuff. So I would encourage anyone out there that is a new parent that may be looking into child support, or somebody, separating and you still have a great relationship, but child support is still an issue. You can call us at 1-800-419-7772. That is 1-800-419-7772. You can also go to custodyqueens.com and send us a email, and we will answer and set you up to talk with either myself, Brittany, or Sam.
Yeah, and just real quick to add, I think an easy way to look at it is that statewide uniform guideline amount, but and there are a lot of variables, as Brittany and Kristen discussed, but some of the more heavy variables that are looked at is actual timeshare, actual approximate timeshare, and your income variable. So if your actual approximate timeshare is about the same, but you still have unequal income levels, then yes, you probably will either owe or have a support order. It's just going to kind of depend on those things. So timeshare can have a huge effect, and your income variable can have a huge effect. But as Kristen said, there's different deductions and income that may be available for support. So we plug all those numbers into the guideline, but it's not quite that easy because we have to make sure we put the right numbers into the guideline to produce the right support owed. So as Kristen said, give us a call.
Okay, so I want to get back to where we were talking about with Brittany, and I think she nailed it. Being present is one of the hardest yet most important things of being a parent, and this applies to moms, dads. The guilt for dads is just as real as it is for moms. I think it applies to parents differently. But one of the things, my daughter asked me the other day, Mom, why do you tell me you love me all the time? And I think it's just one of those things that if something were to ever happen to me, not saying it will, but there's a lot of things in life that are unknown. I never want my kids to question whether or not I love them, right? So I'm explaining this to my 9-year-old, and she just thinks I say it all the time, but I actually said that to her. I said, well, what happens if something happens to Mom? I want you to know. And of course she's like, don't talk about that. And then you have to say, okay, she is 9. I need to have these age-appropriate conversations. But what do you want out of life for your children? I know as a parent, I want my kids to pick a career that makes them happy and makes them tick. I want them to have a loving relationship, whatever that looks like, whatever that their heart desires. And those are the things that I have to remind myself that I want for me too. So we can have it all. It just isn't going to be perfect every day. And that's okay.
100%.
So, Brittany, I will remind you on those days, like Sam has done for me, that on those hard days when you're going into court and you don't even have 2 right shoes on, the right feet. I went into court one time with 2 different heels on. And that's a real that's a real thing, okay? I have gone into court with God knows what on my
and they
blazers.
were both amazing shoes.
You know?
Yeah,
Even if
Kristen
they
does
didn't
have good shoes.
But love your village and rely on your village. If you're going through this process as a new parent, I say this all the time, but it is okay not to be okay every day. And really just embrace when you're doing things, embrace the presence, you know?
That's something I always struggle with myself. So I always try to tell myself, okay, if someone that I loved, someone that I care about came to me with the problems that I'm facing right now, what would I tell them? Like, would I say the mean things that I'm saying to myself? Like if Kristen came to me and said, you know, man, I feel like I didn't have enough time with my kids this week and I was so busy, I was thinking about work, I was distracted, would I be like, man, you're such a bad mom. How dare you have other things going on than just 100% your kids all the time? Like, I don't give myself that same grace. In my head, I'm saying, you're the worst mom. You are failing at everything. Everybody sees it.
The diaper hasn't been changed in 3 hours.
Exactly. It's the world is ending. And so I just try to remind myself, if that's not something I would say to someone who came to me with this problem, don't say it to yourself. Give yourself the same grace that you give others. No one's striving for perfection here. And I wouldn't want that. I wouldn't want my son to see perfect, because that's just not
It's not a
realistic and manageable or maintainable at all. So, you know, just the constant giving of grace.
And life is so full of ebbs and flows, right? Like how many times have we gone into court completely 100% prepared for what we think is going to happen, and then a curveball happens and, you know, a court reporter's out, the judge is sick, opposing party got in an accident, a witness can't be there. Life is about adjusting and modifying and just doing the best you can. And I don't want my daughter especially to ever grow up feeling like she's not enough. Yeah. You know, they're enough. And I'm hard on myself in a different way, but I will say things that I know that I would get so upset with my client if they said to their kids. And I literally have like little Kristen sitting right here going, Kristen, you would crucify your client for saying that out loud. And so I have like a little check, Kristen, not appropriate. And then it's almost like Sam's in my ear telling me that.
Reel it back in.
Now, Sam, I know you want kids, but are you?
You guys have talked me out of it. I don't know. It's very tiring.
I know she probably saw the worst and the best of it all. I mean, she was right there with me through. I think she started working with me when Riley was like 4 months old, and she's 9 now. You know, so she has seen all the phases. But
Riley and Huddy look identical.
They do. I was just going to say what I said at birth, but it's definitely not appropriate for the show. But yes, if you took off a bow off Riley and put a bow on Huddy, you wouldn't be able to tell which child it was. But I look forward to watching, you know, Brittany and Sam continue through this journey, because my ovaries are not... they are not closed. Crying for more. Let's just say that. They are closed for business.
Are you sure?
I am at the phase now where I am enjoying it. I'm starting to sleep again. The postpartum has faded, and I am at the point where I want to go on vacation and sit and have a pina colada and not be chasing a 2-year-old around.
So you're 100% locked
like
in.
1,000 million.
Not even like
99.9.
99.9.
No, like done. I'm just waiting for, you know, you two to keep carrying on. But that show went by so stinking fast. I always want more, but we love to give you guys more. Thank you, everybody, for joining us this Saturday and every Saturday at 8:30. We love talking life with you. We loved having Brittany and talk about all the new challenges and amazing moments of motherhood. What has been your best moment so far?
When he giggled for the first time.
Oh, his baby giggles.
Yeah, he's super ticklish, and
Still not ready for more.
Yeah, and I go and I kind of like kiss his neck, and he just loses it, full hysterical giggling, and I will never forget the first time he did it.
Aww.
So remember those moments, parents out there, when you're having a bad day. Remember, take a minute, think about those moments that kind of where you were standing when it happened. You know, I can tell you what I was wearing on certain events just because they're so special. But remember, your kids just want you to be present. They don't need perfection. Enjoy what you're doing, be in the moment, and when the workday is done, the workday is done. Don't be looking at emails and doing stuff on your phone at 9 o'clock at night. Enjoy that time with your family, because the Custody Queen's core value, one of the most important things we pride ourselves on, is family first.
All right, and if anyone has any questions, please feel free to give us a call at 1-800-419-7772. That's 1-800-419-7772. And remember,
Let love rule.